Hello Taurus, welcome back to my channel. I have to tell you, when I sat down to pull cards for you today about this specific situation, the energy that came through was absolutely intense. There is someone in your orbit who has made some serious choices recently, and let me tell you, those choices are not working out the way they expected them to. Before we dive into what the cards are showing me, I want you to know that this reading is about someone who thought the grass was greener somewhere else. Someone who chose what looked easier or more exciting over what was real and meaningful. And now, Taurus, they are living with the consequences of that decision every single day. The first card I pulled for this situation just made me pause for a moment because it is so perfectly capturing what is happening. I got the Seven of Swords, and this card is showing me someone who thought they were being clever, someone who believed they could outsmart love itself. The Seven of Swords traditionally represents deception and theft, but in this context, it is showing me someone who stole from themselves. This person made a calculated decision based on what they thought would benefit them most. They looked at their options and chose what appeared to be the safer bet, the more practical choice, or maybe even the more exciting option. But what the Seven of Swords is revealing here is that in making this choice, they essentially robbed themselves of something genuine and irreplaceable that they had with you. The fascinating thing about the Seven of Swords in this position is that it shows someone who thought they were being strategic, but they completely miscalculated. They thought they understood what they were trading, but they had no idea of the true value of what they were giving up. This card is showing me someone who approached love like it was a business transaction, and they are discovering that love does not work that way. What I find particularly telling about the Seven of Swords here is that it represents someone who has been living a kind of lie, even to themselves. They convinced themselves that their choice was the right one, that they were doing what made sense, but deep down, they knew they were betraying something authentic and meaningful. And now that betrayal is eating at them from the inside. The Seven of Swords is also showing me someone who is now dealing with the paranoia and guilt that comes with making choices based on deception rather than truth. They are constantly looking over their shoulder, wondering if their current situation is as unstable as what they left behind, wondering if they are being deceived the same way they deceived themselves. Now, for what they are experiencing in their current relationship, I pulled the Five of Cups, and this is showing me someone who is surrounded by disappointment and regret. The Five of Cups represents someone who is focused on what is not working, what is missing, what has been lost or broken. This person is in their current relationship, but they are not truly present for it because they are consumed by awareness of what is lacking. This card is particularly powerful because it shows someone who is trying to make the best of a situation that fundamentally does not fulfill them. They are standing there looking at the three spilled cups, which represent all the ways their current relationship falls short, while behind them are two cups still standing that they cannot even see because they are so fixated on the disappointment. The Five of Cups in this context is showing me someone who wakes up every day and feels the absence of something essential. They are going through the motions of their current relationship, but there is a persistent sadness, a constant awareness that something is fundamentally wrong. They are mourning what they gave up while trying to convince themselves that what they have now is enough. What makes the Five of Cups so poignant here is that it shows someone who is trapped in their own disappointment. They cannot fully commit to their current situation because they are too aware of what is missing. But they also feel stuck because admitting their mistake would mean facing some very uncomfortable truths about themselves and their choices. This person is experiencing a kind of emotional limbo, Taurus. They are not happy where they are, but they are also not willing to take the actions necessary to change their situation. The Five of Cups is showing me someone who is stuck in regret, replaying their choices over and over and wondering how things might have been different. For their deeper emotional state about you specifically, I pulled the Hermit reversed, and this is fascinating. The Hermit upright represents inner wisdom and spiritual seeking, but reversed, it shows someone who is avoiding the inner work they need to do. This person knows they need to confront some truths about themselves and their feelings for you, but they are actively running from that confrontation. The Hermit reversed is showing me someone who is afraid of what they might discover if they truly examine their heart and their choices. They are avoiding solitude and introspection because they know that if they get quiet enough, if they get honest enough, they will have to face the fact that they made a mistake that has cost them something precious. This card represents someone who is keeping themselves busy, keeping themselves distracted, because stillness and honesty would force them to confront feelings they are not ready to handle. They are afraid of their own inner voice because they know it will tell them things they do not want to hear about you, about their current situation, and about what they really want. The Hermit reversed also suggests that this person has lost touch with their own authentic desires and values. They made their choice based on external factors, on what looked good on paper or what other people approved of, rather than listening to their own heart and intuition. And now they are paying the price for that disconnection from their true self. What is particularly sad about the Hermit reversed in this context is that it shows someone who has the capacity for deep self-awareness and spiritual growth, but they are choosing to remain in denial rather than doing the work necessary to align their life with their truth. Now, for their mental state when they think about you, I got the Queen of Swords reversed. And this is showing me someone whose usually clear thinking becomes completely muddled when it comes to you. The Queen of Swords upright represents mental clarity and honest communication, but reversed, it shows someone who is emotionally reactive and unable to think clearly about this situation. This person prides themselves on being rational and logical, but when your name comes up or when they think about what they had with you, all of that mental clarity just goes out the window. The Queen of Swords reversed is showing me someone who becomes defensive, emotional, and unable to process their feelings in a healthy way when it comes to you. This card represents someone who knows they should be able to think through this situation logically, but they are too emotionally invested in justifying their choices to see clearly. They become sharp and cutting in their thoughts, either toward you, toward themselves, or toward their current situation, because the emotional pain is too much to process directly. The Queen of Swords reversed also suggests that this person has built up elaborate mental defenses to protect themselves from having to fully acknowledge their mistake. They have constructed justifications and rationalizations for their choice. But these mental gymnastics are exhausting and ultimately ineffective because the truth keeps breaking through. What I find particularly telling about the Queen of Swords reversed here is that it shows someone who has lost their emotional equilibrium specifically around you. They can handle other areas of their life with their usual mental clarity, but when it comes to you and what they gave up, they become reactive and unable to access their natural wisdom. For what they are discovering about their current relationship, I pulled the Eight of Pentacles reversed, and this card is showing me someone who has realized that all their efforts to make their current situation work are not paying off the way they expected. The Eight of Pentacles upright represents mastery and dedication to craft, but reversed, it shows someone whose hard work is not producing the results they hoped for. This person has been putting effort into their current relationship, trying to build something meaningful, trying to develop the kind of connection they know is possible. But the Eight of Pentacles reversed is showing me that despite all their efforts, they are not achieving the level of satisfaction and fulfillment they experienced with you. This card represents the frustrating realization that some things cannot be forced or manufactured through effort alone. This person is discovering that genuine connection, real compatibility, and authentic love cannot be created through willpower and determination. They are learning that what they had with you was special precisely because it came naturally and authentically. The Eight of Pentacles reversed also suggests that this person is beginning to understand that they may have been trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. They are realizing that no amount of effort can make their current relationship into something it is not fundamentally designed to be. This is a humbling and somewhat devastating realization for someone who thought they could control the outcome through sheer determination. What makes the Eight of Pentacles reversed particularly poignant in this context is that it shows someone who genuinely wants to do the right thing, who wants to make their current choice work, but who is slowly coming to terms with the fact that wanting something and being able to create it are two very different things. Now, for their feelings about the choice they made, I got the Three of Swords, but I am reading this from a very specific angle. Rather than just heartbreak, I am seeing this as the piercing clarity that comes through emotional pain. This person is experiencing the kind of sharp, clear understanding that only comes when illusions are stripped away, and you are forced to see reality exactly as it is. The Three of Swords in this context is showing me someone whose heart is being opened, albeit painfully, to truths they have been avoiding. The swords piercing the heart represent moments of brutal honesty, moments when they cannot escape the reality of what they have done and what they have lost. This card is showing me someone who is having those devastating moments of clarity where they see their situation exactly as it is, without the filters of justification or hope. They are experiencing the kind of emotional pain that cuts through all pretense and forces them to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves and their choices. The Three of Swords here represents a necessary process, even though it is painful. This person needs to feel this pain in order to understand the magnitude of their mistake and to motivate them to make different choices in the future. The heartbreak is serving a purpose. It is breaking through the numbness and denial that allowed them to make this choice in the first place. What I find hopeful about the Three of Swords in this position is that it often represents the darkest moment before a breakthrough. This person is experiencing the full weight of their mistake, and while that is painful, it is also potentially transformative if they are willing to learn from it rather than just endure it. For their current relationship dynamic, I pulled the Four of Pentacles, and this is showing me someone who is holding on desperately to something that is not naturally cohesive. The Four of Pentacles represents possessiveness and fear-based attachment, and in this context, it shows someone who is gripping tightly to their current situation because they are afraid of what letting go would mean. This person is not holding on to their current relationship because it brings them joy or fulfillment, but because releasing it would mean admitting their mistake and facing an uncertain future. The Four of Pentacles is showing me someone who is driven more by fear than by love in their current situation. This card represents someone who has become controlling and possessive, not because they are deeply in love, but because they are terrified of losing what little stability they have managed to create. They are holding on so tightly that they are actually preventing any natural growth or development in their current relationship. The Four of Pentacles also suggests that this person is hoarding emotional energy, unwilling to fully invest in their current situation because some part of them knows it is not where they belong. They are giving just enough to maintain the relationship, but holding back their full heart, because they intuitively understand that this is not their person. What makes the Four of Pentacles particularly revealing in this context is that it shows someone who is trying to force security and stability rather than allowing it to develop naturally. They are so focused on not losing what they have that they are unable to appreciate or develop what could be. Now, for their deepest realization about you, I got the Knight of Cups, and this is showing me someone who has finally understood the quality of love and emotional authenticity that you brought to their life. The Knight of Cups represents romantic idealism and emotional courage, and in this context, it shows someone who has realized that what they had with you was the kind of love songs are written about. This person is having moments of profound recognition where they understand that you approached love with a purity and authenticity that is rare and precious. The Knight of Cups is showing me someone who has gained appreciation for the way you loved them, wholeheartedly, courageously, without reservation or calculation. This card represents someone who is finally understanding that what they thought was naive or overly romantic about your approach to love was actually its greatest strength. You loved with the courage and idealism of the Knight of Cups, and they are now realizing that such love is not weakness, but the highest form of emotional bravery. The Knight of Cups in this position is also showing me someone who understands that you would have gone to the ends of the earth for them, that you would have fought for your connection in ways they are not experiencing in their current relationship. They are realizing that the quality of devotion and romantic dedication you offered was irreplaceable. What is beautiful about the Knight of Cups here is that it shows this person gaining real appreciation for who you are as a lover and a partner. They are not just missing you randomly, they are specifically missing the way you loved them, the emotional courage you brought to your connection, and the romantic depth you were willing to explore together. For what they are learning about love itself through this experience, I pulled the Hanged Man, and this card is showing me someone who is gaining wisdom through suspension and surrender. The Hanged Man represents a complete shift in perspective, and in this context, it shows someone whose entire understanding of love and relationships is being turned upside down. This person is in a period of enforced stillness and reflection, unable to move forward in their current situation, but also unable to go back to how things were before. The Hanged Man is showing me someone who is suspended between worlds, gaining insight through this uncomfortable but necessary pause in their life. The Hanged Man represents someone who is learning that some of the most important lessons can only be learned through surrender and acceptance, rather than through action and control. This person is being forced to let go of their need to manage and manipulate their romantic life, and instead learn to trust in deeper forces and natural timing. This card is particularly powerful in this context because it shows someone who is gaining spiritual and emotional maturity through their suffering. The Hanged Man often appears when someone needs to completely reverse their approach to a situation, and this person is learning that everything they thought they knew about love and relationships may need to be reconsidered. What I find hopeful about the Hanged Man here is that it represents someone who is moving toward enlightenment, even though the process is uncomfortable. This person is being prepared for a more authentic and mature approach to love. But first, they must release old patterns and beliefs that no longer serve them. Now, for their thoughts about their future, I got the Two of Swords. And this card is showing me someone who is completely stuck in indecision and mental paralysis when it comes to what to do next. The Two of Swords represents someone who can see the pros and cons of different choices, but feels unable to move in any direction. This person is mentally exhausted from weighing their options over and over without being able to reach a decision that feels right. The Two of Swords is showing me someone who knows they need to make a choice about their future, but they are paralyzed by fear of making another mistake. This card represents someone who is trying to think their way out of a situation that really requires them to feel their way through it. They are so afraid of their emotions leading them astray again that they are trying to make this decision purely intellectually. But that approach is not working because matters of the heart cannot be resolved through logic alone. The Two of Swords also suggests that this person is avoiding making a decision because they know that any honest choice will require them to face some painful truths. They are stuck because moving in any direction will require them to acknowledge mistakes and take responsibility for the consequences of their choices. What makes the Two of Swords particularly challenging in this context is that it shows someone who has lost faith in their own judgment. They made what they thought was a smart choice before, and it backfired. So now they do not trust themselves to make good decisions about their romantic future. For the final card about the ultimate outcome of this situation, I pulled the Nine of Pentacles reversed, and this is showing me someone who thought they were choosing abundance and security, but who is actually discovering a deep sense of emptiness and dissatisfaction. The Nine of Pentacles upright represents self-sufficiency and material comfort, but reversed, it shows someone who has everything they thought they wanted, but feels spiritually and emotionally bankrupt. This person achieved what looked like success in their romantic choice. Maybe their current partner looks good on paper, maybe the relationship provides security or social status, but the Nine of Pentacles reversed is showing me that none of those external achievements can compensate for the lack of genuine connection and authentic love. This card represents someone who is learning that true abundance in love cannot be measured by external factors, but must be felt in the heart and soul. They are discovering that a relationship can check all the right boxes and still leave them feeling fundamentally unfulfilled and alone. The Nine of Pentacles reversed also suggests that this person is experiencing a crisis of values, questioning what they thought was important, and realizing that they may have been pursuing the wrong things entirely. They are learning that emotional and spiritual wealth are more important than any external advantages their current relationship might provide. What is both sad and potentially transformative about the Nine of Pentacles reversed in this position is that it shows someone who is finally understanding what true abundance in love looks like, but they are learning this lesson through the painful experience of its absence rather than its presence. Taurus, as I look at all these cards together, I am seeing someone who is going through a profound learning experience about love, choice, and authenticity. This person made what they thought was a smart decision, but they are discovering that when it comes to matters of the heart, the smart choice and the right choice are not always the same thing. The progression I am seeing in these cards tells a story of someone who started out thinking they could outsmart love, who chose based on logic and external factors rather than genuine connection and authentic feeling. Now they are living with the consequences of that choice, experiencing disappointment, regret, and a growing awareness of what they actually value in a relationship. What strikes me most about this reading is that this person is being forced to confront some fundamental questions about what they really want from love and partnership. They are learning that genuine connection cannot be manufactured, that authentic love cannot be replaced by practical advantages, and that the heart has its own wisdom that cannot be overruled by the mind. The cards are showing me someone who is in the process of a major shift in consciousness about love and relationships. They are moving from a place of trying to control and manage their romantic life to a place of understanding that the best relationships are built on authentic connection and genuine compatibility rather than strategic thinking. This is ultimately a story about someone learning to value what really matters in love, Taurus. And while this learning process is painful for them, it may also be necessary for their growth and eventual happiness. They needed to understand through direct experience what happens when you choose with your head instead of your heart, when you prioritize practical considerations over authentic connection. The beautiful thing about this situation is that their mistake with you is teaching them what to value and what to look for in love. They are gaining wisdom that will serve them well in the future, even though they had to learn it the hard way. As for you, Taurus, this reading is really a confirmation of your worth and the quality of love you have to offer. This person's struggle in their current situation is not about you lacking something. It is about them finally understanding how rare and precious what you offered really was. You do not need to do anything with this information except perhaps take comfort in knowing that your worth is being recognized, even if that recognition came too late to benefit your relationship with this person. Their struggle is their journey to walk, and your job is to continue being the authentic, loving person you are while remaining open to someone who will recognize your value from the beginning rather than learning it through loss.